Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters, the gaming theologian, and I affirm the virgin birth. We had a few technical difficulties, so I'm going to go a little bit longer than I would before for this episode. But I've been considering, what if someone wanted to get started doing Christian apologetics? How should they do it? Okay, so let me just say at the start that there is a huge lack. Well, actually, before I give out, just give a brief update on something. I am going to be going to the movies tomorrow night to see Spider-Man with some friends. So if you all are interested, I would be glad to do a review on the next episode that we do, because there probably won't be an episode tomorrow night, because it'll be late when I get back from the movies. So you let me know, and if I don't hear anything, well, I'm going to do it anyway. But either way, if you'd like to see it, I'd still appreciate hearing from you on that. Blech. Okay. So yeah, get my words jumbled a bit. Anyway, what about apologetics? Where, first off, there is a dire need for it today in the church. I look with great regret when I think back and realize that in all my years growing up in the church, no one ever told me about apologetics. No one ever said, hey, if you're a smart guy, here's something you can do with your intelligence to serve the cause of Christ. No one ever mentioned it at all. That is a shame. I had no idea the whole field existed. Would that I could go back and change all of that somehow. Yeah, I want to take out the Medusas first because, that whole thing about being turned to stone is really problematic. Okay, so I go off to Bible college, though, because getting out of high school, the best area I still have the most knowledge in was the Bible. And when I got to Bible college, one of the first things I found out was how little I really knew about the Bible. But I remember being downstairs in the student center one day and seeing a student look like he was studying, and this is very uncharacteristic of me, but I went up to him anyway and asked what he was studying, and he told me apologetics. And I honestly said, what's that? And he told me what it was. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Filed that away as something I could bear to remember later on. Now, around this time, I was on the internet often in chat rooms, doing some kind of evangelism. But by God, whenever an atheist entered in, I just had nothing to say. I did not know how to respond to them, nothing. And I remember talking to someone I knew then who he recommended I read this book called More Than a Carpenter. It was a pretty good book. Okay, it's alright. Gave me enough information to get me started on my journey. And then I remembered but someone had told me about this book where there was an atheist who had set out to disprove Christianity and ended up becoming a believer. And that book was called The Case for Christ. So I went and read that book, and the way I say it is that is the book that lit my fire. Now, whatever someone might think about Lee Strobel, the way he does it, at least in that book, is right. Because he not only gave information, he introduces you to great minds in the field. So there's really no question about, geez, where can I go next to learn something else? You already know. You're already ready to go there. So, when I got done reading that book, my path was set because I knew so many other places I could go to by the names of the scholars. And when I found Case for Faith, I was even more thrilled with that. And from that point on, anytime I went to the bookstore, which normally I hadn't even been going to the bookstore before that, regularly at least, I was getting more and more books on this. Okay, we're going to equip the Revenge Sword. I'm not using Agility Gear so much, we're going to stick to Revenge Sword. This is a very interesting sword because you do nothing when you use it. But whenever you get an attack that's a physical attack, you respawn with a counterattack that's at least your strength times 5. Even if it deals no damage. If it deals more than that, it will deal double the damage that was dealt to you. So maybe we'll see it happen here, or maybe we won't. Yep, there. Oh, it's doing more actually. 165. That makes my robot an even better tank at this point. So we're going to use Revenge again here. Now don't get me wrong, I was always an avid reader, but there really wasn't much need to go to the bookstore because I could just always go to the library and get any books I wanted to. And some of my favorites beyond reading the Peanuts comic strips and things like that were mysteries, especially Hardy Boys and then Nancy Drew and later Mary Higgins Clark. Yeah, I loved all of those. But here I was getting more and more books regularly. I mean, my parents were happy I was doing the reading, but at the same time, my mother kept asking, geez, where are we going to put all these books that he keeps getting? I was having to buy the bookshelves for the first time. Yeah, I've given away so many books because I just didn't have the room. So, what would I recommend though to people today who are starting out in this field? So some tips that I give. First off, I say practice. I was on the internet regularly engaging with atheists online, and you know what? I got my butt kicked a lot of times at the beginning. I would just receive so many questions I did not know the answer to. It happened. What's the end result of that? For me, at least. Well, the end result was I had to learn to do my studies again. Whenever I encountered questions I could not answer, I just went right back to studying. So I keep getting these controls confused here. And I consider that a good thing. Because by learning this material and practicing it, it was repetition that was doing this for me. Much like when you play a game repeatedly, you learn how to be good at the game just by doing it over and over. I was learning how to make these arguments and remembering the data because I was practicing it over and over again. Getting your butt kicked is not terminal. We often have this idea that we should do things perfectly, that there will be no flaws whatsoever in what we do. And that's just not so. Yeah, we're buying the grenades. Goodbye, SMG. Hello, grenade. Grenade does more damage. So, this world seems to be just a town. The thing is, I don't remember how you're supposed to figure out, but I know what you're supposed to do here is go to the jukebox. This is a cool feature, by the way. You can pull up any soundtrack you want from the game and play it. But we want to play the heroic tune. You are spies. Captain! So your dad here is apparently someone called Captain. New God spying on them. You got just like Captain. Can't wait to see you grown up. Abusing Magi causes great imbalance in nature. Ancient gods could not control their power and ruined themselves. Ashura, Apollo, Venus, Odin. We have to look out for new gods. Sky is getting unstable. And we're trying to save the world. Aren't we all? Captain's the best at collecting magi and everything. Off limits magi storage. Stay here and rest well, okay? And yet that night... Okay, so let's get back to talking about what I was talking about here. And what I'd saying was that you will get beat sometimes. You're not going to do things perfectly. And it is a huge mistake to think you should. No one bats 1,000. at all. And yet so many of us have this idea that we're going to be the exception. You are not the exception in this. Everyone starts somewhere. Well, Magi Storage doesn't seem to be doing too good here. And for me, it was very difficult getting beat so many times at the start. Wondering, do you really have what it takes to do this? But you know what? I kept trying. Because I wanted to succeed. And I enjoyed getting to be able to use my brain for the cause. These enemies are also actually tougher than regular enemies in the air. All these enemies are kind of like mini bosses. Which hopefully we can get meat. That'd be very great. Oh well. And this is the time your dad joins your party as where Dad. I think I need to use some cure here. So what I'm telling you is go out and engage with people, and finding people to engage with online is much easier now than it was then. When I started, we didn't have social media and Facebook and everything else that you could use to do debates. Now you do. Which means finding opponents to debate is a lot easier than it ever was. But another place I would still recommend is one that I still have a forum, the Deeper Waters forum. On there is theologyweb.com. You can go there. You just kind of wonder what happened to all the people here. Go there and you can find several great debates going on. Now, one of the benefits of using the Blitz whip is if, I think it's winding the whip, the target loses their turn that time. Captain, we've got Lynn. Come get on the next world. So go out there and engage with the other side. Oh, I've forgotten about this part. You kinda gotta wonder how these places are staying in business out here. You can't imagine there's several people showing up at the door to get services here, but I guess they gotta try somehow. And this is a simple word. Your daughter and I were waiting for you. Sir! Sir! My daddy is missing, so Captain said he'd be my father till Mommy's aware. Oh, you fooled me, but you can never do it again. I'll get the monster. You go get Lynn and run. Take Fitz. Tell Mom I love her. Not your fault. I was so harsh, but it was mistaken. You have taken Lynn home. Alright, let's go home. And Lynn joins us again. Phew. Say goodbye to number one of the guardians. Well, since that guy's even able to damage my robot, I'm going to use the revenge. Hope he does it again. Those guys with that sprite have a lot of hit points. Are we going back? No, we're gonna saturate goddess. We can't go back now. Captain used to be a friend of my husband. My husband got lost in Mission of the Guardian. Captain treated Lynn as a real daughter. Captain left us here. So, go out and do engage with the other side. Another thing, though, also is do not try to master everything. Don't try it. You're just not going to do it. No one can know everything. There are some areas I just do not really touch. And I send people to others if they have questions in those areas. If you have a question about science, as science for instance, I'm going to send you to someone else. Now, I'm happy to talk about the history of science and the philosophy of science, but I'm not going to claim to understand the inner workings of science. That's for someone else. Okay, so we're going to the next world now. And this is... well, I already know what it is. Only beautiful people can live here. This is the city of Venus, the goddess of beauty, also known as Aphrodite in Greek. So I had forgotten to put it on full screen earlier. The village outside the walls, and it's very dirty. We're going to equip the robot with a different sword here then. Watch the strength go up a little bit. Got many heavy earthquakes, which seems to be a recurring theme. This guy didn't have much to say either way. We are protected from the dirty things outside. Let me check something else, because there's another building selling things there, so let's see what they've got. Yeah, all this stuff is okay, but it really doesn't beat what I've already got equipped. Okay. Looks like a wedding chapel. And before we go into the main room, Garbage dump. Keep out. Kinda wondering why a beautiful city has garbage in it, but okay. Here's lovely Venus. Glad to hear you. If you got ugly Ashura, grant you stay my word. I do not think you can find any magi here, though. Well, maybe she's right. Let's just take a look and see if there's any magi here. Now, yeah, there's a few. Okay. So, don't try to master everything here. Leon was exiled from the city because his leg was wounded by an accident. Getting married to Flora, sorry about Leon, was just bad luck. So that's what happens in this city. You get a wound, something ugly, you're out. Venus permits you to go through the gate. And this is where things are starting to get more difficult. And even in some areas, you might even have to choose a specialty in a sub area as well. Like suppose you want to study cults. You're not going to be able to master every cult out there. Sorry, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to choose which cults, or even maybe which cult, you're going to focus on. Some apologists spend all their time devoted to studying, say, Mormonism. And I'm not knocking that. Anything, I think that's the proper thing to do. Some apologists will study the Jehovah's Witnesses. Some might go for even lesser known cults than those. And that's okay. So here is where we see Leon. The only thing I'm worried about is Flora. We'll go to the inn in a bit. You're in the sewer from the north side of the walls. Many things in the sewer are still nice and clean. Leon's doing good even though his leg is wounded. It's much better here than those ruled by Venus. Might be trouble in paradise then. Ruins of the ancient gods are up north. Personally, I wish you could somehow improve your mana outside of battle since you use magic so much, but I guess you can't. If you want to study the Bible, which I think everyone should at least have some knowledge of the Bible and apologetics, even if you don't master every area out there, which you shouldn't. There are some areas you definitely need some knowledge in anyway, and one of them is definitely the Bible. But if you say I'm going to specialize in the Bible, you might say, well, am I going to do biblical languages? Am I going to do textual criticism? Am I going to do Old Testament? Am I going to do New Testament? If I do Old Testament, am I going to limit myself to certain books? And if I do New Testament, I'm going to limit myself to the Gospels or to the Epistles or to Revelation or maybe to the general epistles. All of these are questions that you have to deal with. And when I see students coming into the seminary trying to decide what they want to do with their lives, look, I really don't like them. They say, well, I'm just waiting to see where God will lead me. It's not something you see in scripture. I'm planning on doing a later show on that topic. But I always ask them the same question. What is your passion? What gets you excited? What gets you motivated? And when they tell me, I say, then study that. Do that. It's really not a difficult concept to figure out. Go where your passion is. Okay, I actually might go back to the town and recover again. Like I said, this is where things are starting to get difficult. Yeah, we're going back to rest, especially after my robot fell in battle. Yeah, at this point also, since we're about halfway through this episode, I do want to remind you that everything I do here is supported by people just like you. And I try to be very careful with anything you all donate to me. I'm not going to bother with doing the whole healing thing this time because I just want to move on. Such that the only reason I'm going to the movies tomorrow night is someone made a donation to me and said, go see the movie. I said, okay. Other than that, I'd probably be missing it and waiting till it came out on streaming. Anyway, it's just to say, I try to be faithful with anything someone gives me, because I know it's a gift. And it's trusted, assuming I'm going to be responsible with the money. That's what I always try to do. I'm actually going to give that to my mutant, since having magic come out very quickly is pretty important. Confused enemies could very well wind up attacking their own allies. And I think I've seen confused enemies attack for ludicrous amounts of damage to themselves. Punch, that's okay, that's okay. It's not the most powerful bit of martial arts at this point, but we'll take it, because, well, it's free. Yeah, that's a very dangerous one to get. Anyway, so back to what I was telling you is that I really do try to be faithful with things here. So, if you give me income to keep me going, I'm not going to be spending it frivolously. That is a sacred charge to me. And I want to honor any trust you give me. So please go to my Patreon. There's a link to it in the episode description. It means so much if you give. And you can also find my Discord there. I'd love to have you join in some discussions there. Okay, this guy, what we'll also try to do, Hopefully we can paralyze him. Got a key, but what we're going to try and do, since he keeps reappearing, is to fight him until we get his meat. Yeah, this is not going well. Anyway, a good thing about robot enemies is they are much weaker to magic than regular enemies are. So please do go and make donations to what I'm doing. It would mean so much to me. I've got a link for my Discord down here also. I really would love to see you joining in the conversations that we have. Or I guess I should say that I'd like to be having, since I don't have enough people on there yet. And like, comment, share, and subscribe. Just get the word out. And if you're enjoying what you're hearing, even leave a message. Say, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. Because even that can be a huge benefit. Hate it when it uses share. Yeah, that revenge is much more helpful than you might realize it could be. And I think after I get some hermit's meat, I am going to try and go back to town and rest up again. It's tedious, but it's needed. But anyway, just please, people, your support means so much to me. So consider donating and helping out. Now watch this be the time that the meat comes. Nope, it wasn't okay. Fortunately, my um, robot, it really is a tank here, so we're taking a lot of less damage than I would have suspected we would. Okay, we're going to fight this guy one more time, and then if we don't get anything, we're going to go back to the town anyway. Okay, we're going back to heal up, because we're in dangerous territory here. Actually, I think I should make sure I get those, that dragon taken care of. So, anyway, getting back to what I was saying, also about what apologists can do here if you're starting out. Another tip I'd give you also is make sure you read books you disagree with. Read something that will challenge you. I make sure every day to read one chapter at least from something that disagrees with me. Now, sometimes that's material from a position within Christianity that I disagree with. And that's okay, but usually it's something outside of Christianity that I disagree with that I'm reading through. Make sure you do that. That way, you know what your opponents believe in their own words. You don't want to be misrepresenting them. And when you go to people who are outside of the faith, you can go to their own sources and say, hey, here's what your own guys say. Okay? That's a very convincing argument. It's easier to say, hey, here's what my guys say about your guys. It's better to say, here's what your guys say about your guys. Oh yeah, I need to equip myself with some better equipment. I guess we'll go with a punch for now and save the headbutts for later. Keep a file, if you can, of things that you read that you disagree with, that when you find useful quotes that you want to use later on. I keep an apologetics database on my computer, so I always have things to go to that I can copy and paste anytime. If you have a Kindle and you do reading that way, this is a whole lot easier. But it's not necessary. Make sure to read the best material you can. Don't just be an apologist reading apologists. Read scholars in the field. Learn from them, not just when people are trying to defend the position. Learn from the main sources as well. Now, along those lines, also, I tell you that I think everything you study, there's at least 2 areas everyone should have at least a basic argument for. The existing of God and the resurrection of Jesus. You should at least be familiar with those enough to make an argument. It might not be the best in some cases, but you need something. Because this is what the faith depends on. This is the benefit of getting the first attack in. So have those basics at least. Now you might want to have some things too about biblical reliability and areas like that, but definitely have something on the existing of God and the resurrection of Jesus. Now, if your area is in my area, which is philosophy, then you should definitely have skill as well in the original philosophers. So go back, read Plato, read Aristotle, read all these people, know the great thinkers of your area, learn what they argue, what they meant, and why it matters. If you are if your area is going to be another religion or a cult movement, if you're studying Islam, for instance, you better be reading the Quran and learning what it says, reading the Hadiths, learning what they say. Probably the group I've done the most study in outside of Christianity is Mormonism, just because it's so fascinating an area to study. Yeah, we're going to try this again. See if we can get anything better this time. But Mormonism is a fascinating area to study. I actually met with some Mormon missionaries earlier this week. Oh, there you go. Okay, that wasn't too good, but at least we did it. Okay, we definitely want to take those things out first. Touch is one of the worst attacks because it actually restores their hit points also. So we want to do some healing. So for instance, I've read all of the Mormon scriptures. I've read Bruce McConkie's Mormon Doctrine. I've read the Rough Stone Rolling, a biography of Joseph Smith. I've read numerous other books by Mormons themselves. And that's what you need to be doing if you want to study a movement like that. You need to read them. You need to know what they say. And it can be intimidating at first. And that's okay. And sometimes you might actually learn you have their viewpoint wrong. And you need to correct that. Because one of the last things you should want to do is misrepresent your opponent. If you claim that the other side believes X and they don't believe X, now we got the key, we can do this. Then you come off looking foolish, and you're definitely not going to convince your opponents of anything like that worthwhile. All your opponents were left thinking is, well, I guess this guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Okay, now this could be something very interesting. So my party was slain here, so here's what happens when you die. You go to Valhalla Palace. And Odin has the power to revive, so we promise to fight him against him one day. And he'll keep reviving us, provided we keep that promise that one day we will face off against him. So I think that's a very interesting way to do things here. And that treasure chest can keep refilling itself over and over. When you're choosing a book to read, try and go with academic publishing houses as much as you can. If I find an atheist book published by Oxford, for instance, versus one published by, say, Prometheus, I'm going with Oxford, because it's going to have the best information. Because when a publishing house publishes a book, They generally want to make sure they are getting a good investment with their money in publishing a book. They don't want to publish a book that's going to cost them more in the long run. Just so you know, yep, it's the same thing again. I already knew it, but I wanted you all to be able to see it. We might be visiting Odin again. It looks like we will be. And that's okay. So now it's a lot quicker. Now you don't come back to these with full health or anything like that, which would have been very nice, but you go into it battle just like you were before you even started it. So try and read the best material out there. Try and get good mentors. Find someone who can train you up in this field, who is experienced and knows what they're talking about, and learn from them. I still have mentors today, and I consider myself very much informed in these fields, but I'm still learning every day. So get mentors, study with them, learn from them. Try and go to conferences like ETS and go to apologetics conferences and learn from the experts there everything that you can. When I go to these events, I'm still trying to learn from the experts. I don't dare want to claim that I know it all. There's always things to learn. I'm on a seminary campus and I'm still constantly asking the professors questions about positions. But I'm still studying, still learning, and I've been doing this for 25 years. If you think you do not need to learn from anyone else, well, that is just arrogance, and it's not going to help you out any. You do not serve anyone in the kingdom by thinking you don't need anyone else. And then in the end, also, give yourself some downtime. The book of Ecclesiastes says that of writing books there is no end, and too much study will make you tired. And that's true. It will. Take breaks every now and then. And if you have family commitments, do not lose sight of your family. Please. Don't make your family be apologetics widows. If they don't need that, it's not going to help them. You know, it's pretty interesting when your character gets hit with a submachine gun and just takes it. You know, the amount of enemies you can find in this game that attack you in random encounters can be overkill sometimes. Please do not disregard your family in whatever ministry you're in, because your first ministry is always your family. no one else can provide for your family like you can. I remember years ago being in Power Talk, and there was a well-known apologist who was out there speaking on the microphone. You could tell he was very sick. He was coughing. Laurie said he had a cold. Everything. Here's something new showing up in this area now. See what Venus has to say about Magi and the sewers. Somehow she knew about that awfully quick. But anyway, this guy was coughing and everything. And I told him, sign off, go rest. He said, truth must be defended. And I said, yes, it must be. And you are not the only one doing it. That's something for you to remember also. This isn't just you. There are other people in the field that are doing things. Let them do them. This whole thing does not depend on you entirely. Trust other people to work alongside you. Trust allies in the field. That's kind of what I'm getting at too when I say to not think you have to answer everything. Trust other people to answer questions too. Trust them to handle the topics that you do not know where. My ministry partner, he's sent plenty of people my way when they have questions that are outside his area of expertise, such as questions about the existing of God. He sends them to me. And that's fine with me. Well, Leon's not happy. Can't say I blame him. Actually, what I think we're going to do for this last few minutes is we're just going to fight around this area. Sometimes when you hit the enemy's weakness, that can happen. It's pretty cool, actually. But that's my advice. And I've been doing this for 25 years. So I think I'm qualified to speak here. Apologetics is a lot of work. You're going to need to invest time and money into it. But you know what? It's a lot of fun too in the end. It's really enjoyable to answer objections. It's really enjoyable when people come in, internet atheists, thinking they're going to humiliate the Christian faith, and you deal with them. There is a good satisfaction in that. But keep in mind, when that happens though, it's not about you. It's about the gospel, and you're defending it. You don't defend it so that people will think you're super incredible. You defend it so people will see who Jesus is. That is the goal. Do not lose sight of that. And it can be easy to lose sight of that. Be on guard against that. Well, folks, that's going to be it for tonight. Now, next time, tomorrow night, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to see Spider-Man. And maybe come Monday, if I'm on here again, I'll give you my thoughts on it. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please become a donor. And if you're interested in entering apologetics, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you out. And for now, remember, whatever